So if you look at this week's current affair, the first topic we have to start is with the Delhi Ridge that has been declared as a reserve forest. So let us try to first of all understand what is Delhi Ridge, where is it located, and how it is going to, or why it is declared as a reserve forest. So first of all, Delhi government itself has declared around total 670 hectares of the central ridge. Central ridge means one of the part of the ridge that is in the central part is declared as reserve forest under section 20 of the IFA. IFA is the Indian Forest Act 1927 as such. Now Delhi Ridge, as you know, if you start from the Gujarat, state of Gujarat, you will find a mountain, hill range basically that continues in the northern direction. This hill range is referred as Aravallis, and northernmost part of Aravalli is what we call as the Delhi Ridge. It is also extended around Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and also the Raisina Hill, which is basically where your parliament, your president's house is located, is actually on the Delhi Ridge itself. So northernmost extension of the ancient Aravalli range, ancient because it is the oldest mountain range of India, and it formed about 2.5 billion years ago as such. Across 35 km within Delhi, that is the entire extent. The ridge acts as Delhi's ecological shield and natural heritage zone. Because of the presence of this ridge, presence of this mountain, the sand carried by wind from the Rajasthan Thar desert, they are not able to enter Delhi region, and that's why we are calling it as a kind of ecological and natural heritage barrier. Geography and major zones, as we have seen, the entire ridge itself is classified into 4 zones: northern, central, south central and southern zone. The entire mountain system of Aravalli itself is made up of rock that is called as quartzitic rock, we can say. Soil is very thin, and the undulating landscape you will find here protects Delhi from, as we have discussed, hot desert wind. When the hot desert wind coming from Thar desert blows, because of the presence of this elevation, they are not able to overcome it and flow across Delhi. Thus, the effect of Loo is felt to a lower extent in the Delhi region. Sanjayvan, Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary, these are the major areas where biodiversity is found in this entire ecosystem. Now, ecological importance of Delhi Ridge, if you understand, it is known as the green lungs of Delhi, which is very right way of describing it, as it supports a huge variety of flora. And it acts as a carbon sink, because we know that forests absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and at the same time they also are provider of oxygen, which is vital for the survival of the life forms including humanity. What kind of vegetation would you find here? So latitude wise, if you look, this entire region, this is the tropic of Cancer passing through here. Somewhere here you have the Delhi located. So overall this entire region has tropical to subtropical kind of climate. And because rainfall is relatively low here, the type of vegetation that naturally grow is referred as dry deciduous. Dry deciduous means those vegetation which grow in area where rainfall is less than 100 to 150 centimeters. Overall, you can say less than 150 centimeters of rainfall. Tropical dry deciduous forest. Further, in certain parts, you also have development of thorny scrub forest, because here rainfall is even less and lesser than 70 centimeters. So in the entire region you will receive somewhere between 70 to 100 centimeters of rainfall. That's why these forests have developed. Now because of the natural climate, the trees such as dhauk, salai, palash and babool, these are the native flora of this region. Plus, because of the development of forest, the local fauna such as jackals, nilgais, porcupines and birds also are found here. So these are from the ecological perspective of the Delhi Ridge. Threats and conservation challenges, if you look, in the recent year we have seen invasive species that has spread over a large area of the Delhi Ridge, and this is called as Vilayati Kikar. Vilayati Kikar also is scientifically referred by the name of Prosopis julifera. This was a question UPSC Prelims, a question asked in UPSC Prelims couple of years back about Prosopis julifera. So it is the Vilayati Kikar. It has become invasive species, and the problem is that this tree absorbs a large volume of water and then overcrowd the entire area. Because of this, what happened? Other species, other plants, they are not able to grow here. Other trees, native flora, they began to decline, and that's why a problem arises. Urbanization also is taking place in the Delhi region. It is one of the fastest growing region or nucleus of India. So encroachment, habitat fragmentation we are seeing, habitat fragmentation also we are witnessing here. Unsuitable plantation drive often fail in the dry ecosystem. Plus, nowadays mining to a large extent is regulated by the National Green Tribunal or Supreme Court of India. But in the earlier time, you had large scale mining that was carried out here, and that is the reason many parts of the southern ridge seems to be severely damaged and devastated, disintegrated as such. So these are the kind of challenges that we have faced in the past and to some extent in the present as well. Now, one of the criticism that the forest department is receiving as far as the management of this region is concerned. So Forest Research Institute working plan, when they unveiled for the year 26-27, they suggested that they would basically bring here some such plant which are not native to this area, and that's what ecologists are recommending, that it should not be done. Rather, the native Aravali species themselves should be restored. Like Forest Research Institute, they have stated that the plantation of teak and sal can be carried out here or should be carried out here. It has commercial objective as well, and ecologists do not agree with it because they say that the earlier few species we have discussed before, they should be the one who that should be targeted here. Concerns exist regarding anti-termite chemicals and the themed forest, because the plantation of teak and sal, ecologists argue, is nothing but an example of theme-based forest development, and they stress that region's natural ecosystem should be preserved rather than planting some tree which has not grown here naturally as such. Now, when we talk about the reserve forest, because that's what this area has been declared. So, reserve forest, they have their own legal and ecological significance. First of all, if any region is declared as reserve forest, as far as the Indian Forest Act is concerned, it enjoys highest degree of legal protection. Now, when we say highest degree of legal protection, it means that once area is declared as reserve forest, activities such as grazing, hunting and mining will be prohibited unless and until directed by the government as such. Similarly, state governments manage this forest under much more stricter regulation, and they help preventing habitat fragmentation and illegal exploitation. Habitat fragmentation means any species of animal, they, like for example, jackals are found here. So they require a certain area to forage for food, to hunt and to live, breed. And if there is a decline in the forest cover, the number of jackal population, to give an example, would also reduce as such. So that's what we mean by the term habitat fragmentation. It has a direct bearing on the decline of the ecosystem biodiversity. That is the overall Delhi ridge. Second topic is related to climate and weather phenomena. Several terms have been in news in past 1 week. It has been covered by several newspapers. IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department, they also have been talking about it. So let us try to understand each of these terms one by one. The first is western disturbance. Second term is El Nino, southern oscillation. Third term is heat waves. Fourth term is WBT, wet bulb temperature. And fifth term we are going to discuss is feel like temperature itself. Now, first of all, if you talk about the western disturbances. So, western disturbances are a kind of wind and cloud system that moves from west to east nearby Himalayas of India. So, these wind that comes from the west, they bring moisture with themselves. That's why they are responsible for rainfall in the Himalayan and sub-Himalayan region. Overall, they originate in beyond the Afghanistan-Iran belt. That means if you extend further, you will have several water bodies such as Mediterranean Sea you will find, then further Black Sea you will find, then further Caspian Sea you will find. So when these winds move over these water bodies, they keep on absorbing moisture, water vapor, and when they strike the Himalayas, to some extent orographic effect is visible, which result in the rainfall. Now many times extra tropical cyclone, also referred as temperate cyclone, also are carried by these winds, and they causes rainfall in the Himalayas, especially during the winter month, which is very beneficial for the growth of rabi crops, plantation and sowing of rabi crops in the Himalayan states such as Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, Uttarakhand and all that. So to some extent it is part of subtropical westerly jet stream also. We have discussed about this in class, where you have two jet stream, polar jet stream and subtropical westerly jet stream, and the impact of these winds is seen across entire northwestern India as well as nearby regions such as Bhutan, Tibet and all the way up to Nepal also. So western disturbances also are a source of rainfall in India apart from the southwest monsoon causing most of rainfall in the summer month. Second phenomena is in news is El Nino southern oscillation. So El Nino southern oscillation is a phenomena when you have development of unusual warm water near the coast of South America in the eastern Pacific. So in the eastern Pacific, this is South American coast, here warm water develop. So after every 3 to 8 years, such kind of situation we see taking place. Whenever this warm water develop near the coast of South America, it leads to development of low pressure condition, because when temperature is higher, air becomes warmer. When air becomes warmer, they rise in the upward direction, resulting in the low pressure. Now, because of this low pressure, the easterly trade winds, which is moving from east to west direction, which further becomes southwesterly monsoon wind, they gets weak. That means whenever you have development of warm water here and pressure becomes low, the easterly trade winds become weaker. And it is the easterly trade winds that become southwesterly monsoon winds, so they also becomes weaker. So the possibility and probability is that El Nino years would causes reduction in the amount of monsoon rainfall over India, and that means to some extent the agriculture would also be impacted. So 3 phases we are witnessing it. El Nino, that is the warm phase. Now imagine if temperature instead of becoming warm becomes cold than usual. That means the low pressure would change to high pressure. Easterly trade winds will become stronger. That means monsoon would become stronger. And that phase is the cool phase, which we call as La Nina. So simply we have to keep in mind, El Nino causes reduction in the rainfall, monsoon rainfall over India, while La Nina causes heavy amount of rainfall, surplus rainfall over India. That is the impact. Now the third term was heat wave. IMD has declared that in this particular year, the number of heat wave days in India would be higher than usual. Plus the temperature which we are witnessing in many of the cities of India in the summer is 1 or 2 degrees Celsius higher than the historical average temperature. So what is classified as heat wave in India? The definition is given by the IMD itself. IMD states that places with normal maximum temperature, if they experience 40 degrees Celsius or less, and then we talk about those places where normal maximum temperature is 40 degrees Celsius or less, if temperature rises by 5 to 6 degrees, we can declare it as a heat wave. Similarly, if temperature rises by more than or equal to 7 degrees, we can say it is a situation of severe heat waves. Now, if a temperature in India has a normal temperature of higher than 40 degrees Celsius, in that case, if temperature rises by 3 to 4 degree, we can declare it a heat wave, and if temperature rises by more than 5 degree, it can be declared as a severe heat wave. And then for any other place, if maximum temperature remains 45 degrees Celsius and above for at least 2 consecutive days, then also we can declare, or IMD can declare, that it is experiencing a heat wave like situation as such. So there are 3 conditions depending on the station and the historical temperature. IMD declares heat wave. Then the fourth topic is wet bulb temperature, WBT. Wet bulb temperature, basically when we measure temperature through thermometer, we are measuring dry bulb temperature. In the wet bulb temperature, we near the this bulb of thermometer, we basically cover it with the wet cotton. So when we record the temperature, it is called as wet bulb temperature, and this can simply be described as the lowest temperature achievable through evaporation. Why it is important to remember and understand it? Because it does not only take into account the actual heating effect, but also it considers the effect of humidity on the human body. Human body naturally controls its temperature by participating in the sweating process. So when sweat is produced and it is evaporating, it is taking away heat from your body, resulting in a cooling effect. So overall, the wet bulb temperature would give you a better idea, a fair idea about how capable your body in the given circumstances to reduce its temperature through the process of sweating as such. And IMD believes that if the wet bulb temperature remains above 35 degrees Celsius, then it can prove fatal, as human body will not be able to cool down. Core temperature would remain elevated, which will have severe repercussions. And if wet bulb temperature remains above 31 degrees Celsius, it can be dangerous for humans to engage in the heavy activities such as hard labor and all that, because that time the risk to the health because of severe dehydration can be much more higher. So wet bulb temperature gives you idea about 2 things, not only the high temperature, but also to what extent humidity level is being recorded in the atmosphere. Now many times when you look at the temperature in your mobile devices, you will see that 2 values are given. One is the actual temperature being recorded, and second is what it actually feels like. So many times you will see in mobile device it is given the temperature is 40 degrees Celsius, but it feels like much hotter, much warmer, 42, 43 degrees Celsius. So that temperature is called as feels like temperature. It is the apparent temperature felt by the body, not only which is being recorded by some instruments such as thermometer. It depends on two things. Apart from the actual temperature heating, it depends on what is the level of humidity and what is the overall wind speed. And we can understand it by looking at two different areas, Delhi and Palakkad, that is in Kerala. In Delhi, dry heat and lower humidity is recorded. Why? Because it is far away from the coast, humidity level is lower. So here the effect would be different compared to Palakkad in Kerala, where apart from having high temperature, you also have very high level of humidity. And again, you can link it to the last topic, which is the wet bulb temperature. If humidity level is higher, that means your body is not effectively cooling, as the sweating would not result in evaporation and reduction in the temperature. So you will feel much more difficulty, as you will not only feeling high temperature, you also feeling sticky because sweat is not evaporating from your body, and sweat is basically trapping the heat. So that means you will feel much more hotter than actual temperature. So same 40 degrees Celsius temperature in Delhi and same 40 degrees Celsius in Palakkad in Kerala could feel very different based on which we define the feel like temperature as such. So overall conclusion, we can say western disturbances affect winter rainfall, Enso impact monsoon and heat waves, El Nino years increases heat stress as we have seen, humidity worsens human discomfort. High temperature, high humidity is one of the most uncomfortable situation your body can be subjected to. Wet bulb and apparent temperature help us measuring the actual threat and danger we faces due to the heating condition, and need for climate preparedness and adaptation strategy, because you know that climate change also is worsening all of these severe weather phenomena, and such years are expected to rise in the future also. Now coming to the third topic, which is India chairs the Kimberley process. Kimberley is a place in the African continent. So India chairs the Kimberley process of year 2026. So let us try to understand what is the Kimberley process. Kimberley, why we call it Kimberley? Because it is related to diamond. So basically there is a special kind of volcanic magma called as kimberlite. Why? Because they are found in the Kimberley plateau. So kimberlite magma, when it rises up, it brings diamonds along with itself. That's why we call it as a Kimberley process. Gold also is brought here. India hosted the Kimberley process inter-sessional meeting this year in Mumbai. Objective was to strengthen the global regulatory framework for the natural diamond trade. Natural diamond, as you know, is diamond that is found naturally in the crust of the earth. Apart from that, you also have artificial diamond, which is prepared in the lab itself. So here we are talking about the natural diamond trade. The focus is to ensure transparency, traceability and integrity in the diamond supply chain. That means whenever someone is engaged in the buying and selling of diamond, at the time he should be able to understand whether the diamond is sourced from, whether the sourcing was ethical or unethical, is there some criminal elements engaged in the overall supply and demand of this diamond. So India is serving as chair of this process for the year 2026. Interestingly, India is also the founding members of the Kimberley process certification scheme that began few years back on the initiative of the African countries as such. Now let us try to understand about the KPCS. What is Kimberley process certification scheme? So this is a scheme launched over under the UN General Assembly resolution, that is 5556 in the year 2000. Main aim of this scheme was to prevent conflict diamonds. When we talk about conflict diamonds, we refer also sometimes this diamond as a blood diamond. So basically these are such diamond which traces their origin to countries where conflict is a large scale conflict, like civil war like situation or war like situation is being seen. Also some countries where ethnic based persecution is being witnessed. So in those countries, if diamond has originated as a result of conflict or to overall finance that conflict, we have the objective to ensure such diamonds not enter the legal global market. Why? Simple reason is that diamond is a source of financing. So if diamond is able to circulate and reach the global market, the money would be used to fund these terror groups who are then killing innocent civilians as such. So that's why we have to ensure that conflict diamonds are used by rebel groups to finance armed conflicts can be prevented. The system regulates international trade in rough diamonds and promotes the ethical sourcing and responsible trade practices globally. That means people should be, again, companies who are involved in diamond trading should be aware where exactly diamond is coming from. Now, what is India's theme for KP chairship? India has emphasized on 3 C's, that is credibility, compliance, and consumer confidence. Credibility means person engaged in diamond trade should be able to understand what is the value or the quality of diamond he is getting. Also, from what sources diamond is being taken. Compliance means as per the KPCS we have to comply. Diamond trade should only be done for such diamond which have been sourced from the ethical places or ethical means, and the consumer confidence should also be higher. Enhances transparency in the global diamond trade, strengthen compliance mechanism among the member nations. So if we are talking about the global diamond trade, even if one or two countries jurisdictions are not able to comply with it, it means we cannot be 100% sure that conflict diamonds are out of market. Build consumer trust to responsibly source natural diamond and promote sustainability and accountability in the diamond sector. These were the 5 areas where India has put forward its stance, and also these were the areas around which India has carried out the consultation. Now we know that India does not have a lot of active diamond mine. Only active diamond mine which we have today is located in the Panna region of the Madhya Pradesh. So to what extent India plays a role in the global diamond industry? Now it is true that we do not have our own active diamond mine, but what do we have is the processing facilities, and as per the record, India processes nearly 90% of the world's diamond. That means it is believed that 90% of diamonds circulating in the world must have passed through one of the two companies, or the several companies in India. It accounts for around 75% of global diamond turnover if you look by value itself, and the major hubs are in Gujarat, Surat, which also is referred as Diamond City rightly, and Mumbai. So cutting of diamond, polishing of diamond, all of these is being done by several hundreds of establishments you have in this city as such. Not only that, India import a lot of rough diamond from countries such as UAE, Belgium and Russia. Now because India is an importer country, India is providing processing facility, it is imperative that India should be only involved in the ethical trade of diamond, which does not violate the spirit of KPCS, Kimberley Process Certification Scheme. And that's why we can understand that India has been given the opportunity to chair this particular summit. Overall, 15% of global lab grown diamond. Natural diamond we have discussed, but lab grown diamond also we contribute about 15% of total global output at the total global output in the world as such. Now, what are the key features of Kimberley process from exam perspective? If you keep in mind, launched in which year? 2000. By which countries? Southern African countries. Southern African countries means Namibia, South Africa, Lesotho, Botswana. So all of these countries are where you have a lot of diamond mining going on. It is an international forum, not a formal international organization. This is also very important, keep in mind. It is not a formal body, but an international forum as such. And because of this, whatever scheme, provisions and this, we can say the overall objectives you have in the Kimberley process, it is not legally binding under international law. Rules are implemented to the national laws and operates to the cooperation among governments, industry and civil society. So again, to emphasize, it is a non-binding treaty, it is a non-binding agreement as such, but based on their own interest, countries then take decision that to what extent we have to enforce and advocate for the Kimberley process and certification scheme. Global relevance and reach, if you look here, 60% representing 80 countries, 86 countries are part of it. European Union, which itself is member of several dozen countries, participates as a single block here. So if you count actual number of countries, it would be much more higher, somewhere closer to 100. Includes observers also, like World Diamond Council, very important organization, or civil society calculation. All of them also are observer, and the members account for nearly 99.8% of global rough diamond production. So even if number of countries seems to be just half of the total countries we have in the world, based on the overall participation in the global diamond trade, they make up 99.8%. So effectively we can say all the countries which are to some extent involved in diamond trade are part of the Kimberley process. India aims to ensure natural diamonds are sustainable and conflict free, and this is the message government of India tried to give in this particular summit itself. Next topic is Indian Meteorological Department. They have come up with the first artificial intelligence based weather forecasting system to make our weather forecasting more accurate and scientific in nature. Now, what is AI based weather forecasting system? So first of all, it is expected that such systems can revolutionize India's weather prediction and disaster preparedness, which is very important because about 56% of India's area, to some extent, they are prone to certain disaster. The coastal areas specifically are prone to weather disasters such as cyclones or tornadoes, or we can say thunderstorm as such. Introduced by IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, supports mission Mausam that was launched few years back by Government of India. It also is in line with that goal. We are also trying to become self-dependent or Atmanirbhar as far as the weather forecasting system is concerned, and focus is to develop a hyper-local AI-driven forecasting. Hyper-local means we should not be able to have a general forecast over a large area, that over area of 100 kilometers will have weather, will have rainfall or hailstorm. Rather, we should be able to pinpoint that in the few kilometers area of this region, we are expecting a particular pattern of weather. So when we are able to have capability or ability to forecast weather over a small area, we can call it as a hyper-local system. Enhances disaster preparedness, agriculture and climate resilience. Why news? Because IMD recently has unveiled two AI-based weather forecasting system to provide high precision and localized weather data. It marks a major advancement as we have seen in India's forecasting capability built upon Bharat forecasting system, Bharat FS framework as such. Now, what is the AI-enabled forecast of that IMD has come up with? So, first is related to the monsoon advance itself. We know that in the month of June, it is believed that monsoon enters India. So, the first state where monsoon enters India is Kerala, and the official date is 1st of June. Now, obviously, every year it does not arrive exactly at 1st June. Sometimes you have early arrival, sometimes you have delayed arrival. So we are trying to forecast the arrival date of monsoon at a much more advanced stage, and not only over a general area, but we should be able to forecast it at a block level. That means in a particular state, in a particular district, in the given block, when exactly monsoon winds may enter or arrive. Plus, issue will forecast every Wednesday for next 4 weeks as such, because we are entering into the monsoon month, and because if we are able to pinpoint exact timing of arrival of monsoon rainfall, it would play a significant role for ensuring that farmers are able to decide the date of sowing, the irrigation, crop protection as well as harvesting, because the entire India to large extent, entire India's agriculture to large extent depends on monsoon, and that's why monsoon also is called as lifeline of Indian agriculture and also Indian economy. Uses AI model statistics. We have collected data over a long historical period from variety of sources from a large area, and then we have integrated it in the system itself. Plus, we also have linked our national system with the global weather models to have a better predictive capability. Built using nearly 100 years of meteorological data which we have access to, we are using to make it better. Now, what are the features of monsoon forecasting system? Provides forecast for 16 states and 3000 sub-district. Cover monsoon core zone with the rain-fed region. Rain-fed region means refer to that areas where the agricultural farmlands completely depend on the monsoon rainfall to meet their irrigation demand, because that's where the impact of production can be actually felt. Crucial for rainfall forecasting and water management. So not only from perspective of irrigation, but also from perspective of water management, so that in dry season, even after the subsidization, when the rainfall subsides, we should have enough water to meet the demand of local population. We should be able to understand it. Developed jointly by 3 organizations. You have Indian Meteorological Department, then we have Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology in Pune, and then we have the NCMRWF. Promotes impact-based and decision support forecasting. Such forecasting which is able to support the decision of the stakeholders such as farmers and can help them in growing better crops and efficient crops. High spatial resolution rainfall forecast for Uttar Pradesh has been announced as well. Pilot forecasting services has been launched for the state of Uttar Pradesh. Provide rainfall forecast at 1 kilometer spatial resolution. That means space means we are talking about the areas. So over an area of 1 kilometer, IMD through this forecasting model is able to predict what kind of weather they will experience in the coming days as such, and can predict rainfall up to 10 days in advance. Again, because for farmers it is important to understand when exactly rainfall is about to arrive, so they can be prepared, and as soon as the rainfall comes they can take benefit of it. So for sowing of crops, for using the fertilizers in the ground, for plowing of the crops, for all of these necessities and needs, the advanced forecast can be critical factor. Developed using the Mithun weather model that the IMD was operating before, and model was refined further by using UP's extensive observation network. So again, any model, whether it is AI based or not AI based, depends on how much data do you have. Higher the volume of data, better will be your forecasting and mathematical modeling. So we have taken help from the US extensive observation network all across the state as such. Technology and applications of UP rainfall system, if you look here, because data sources include rain gauge. Rain gauge, as you know, is a special time of measurement, this instrument where you have funnel, and through funnel, when the rainfall happens, the water percolates down, and then you have the calculation measurement scale basically. So how much water is getting collected over a particular period of time, that you can say is the amount of rainfall received. So this instrument is called as rain gauge. Weather stations where they are measuring temperature, precipitation, wind speed, this humidity level and all that. Doppler radars also are used to understand that to what extent wind is moving, rainfall will be seen, and other satellite images as well. Uses AI driven downscaling techniques, benefits agriculture, water resources as well as disaster management, because not only from the perspective of meeting the irrigation demand, the forecasting method can also play a critical role in ensuring that we are well prepared to manage any disaster, especially if it is a meteorological disaster, hydrological disaster as such. Supports renewable energy and urban planning also, and enables precise and timely local decision making. Again, why? Because to emphasize, the model is focused on providing us not only local but even hyper local data. That means we should be able to predict weather at much more smaller scale or much more smaller region of India. Now here it is integrated with the Bharat FS, which stands for Bharat Forecasting System. It was adopted very recently by IMD itself in the month of May 2025. Now Bharat forecasting model is able to provide a forecast over area of 6 km, which again is very localized forecast, available at panchayat, cluster and village level. So in the same panchayat, you can now predict that when rainfall will occur, and nearby panchayats when rainfall will occur, and that would give a better idea for the farmers, and then based on that they can prepare for the farming. Improves extreme weather prediction accuracy, uses a grid called as TCOR, that is triangular cubic octahedral grid, this grid, better than older CFS and GFS model that was used by IMD. Now Bharat FS itself is powered by these two names you should keep in mind, called as Arka and Arunika. These are two supercomputers that is being used for the weather forecasting in India as such. And after the inclusion of Bharat FS in May 2025, we have seen that the IMD's accuracy in forecasting weather has improved significantly by 64%. That means we can say that based on the short-term experiences, short duration experiences that we have with the system, it seems to be much more efficient, accurate and predictive in nature. 30% better extreme weather warning IMD has been able to provide based on the system itself, and it thus supports two major things. One is the agriculture obviously, and second is the infrastructure planning, because in the hilly areas when you are constructing roads, railways and all, you should be also able to understand the possibility of what kind of weather we have in the future. Based on that, then you can plan the growth of infrastructure. Strengthen disaster risk reduction and promotes Atmanirbhar Bharat in meteorology. Strengthening of disaster risk reduction, again if you link, it is one of the goal under the Sendai framework that India is also a participant of. So this we have to achieve. Sendai framework, the goal is by 2030 we should be able to strengthen our disaster risk reduction to such an extent that the casualty from disaster can be minimized to a significant extent as such. Now coming to the next topic, that is a collaboration we are witnessing between two organizations. One, you have UIDAI, that is, and second is NFSU, that stands for National Forensic Sciences University, and they both have collaborated in the field of cyber security. So why they have collaborated? So we know that UIDAI, it has emerged as a very strong institution, big institution, which is holding a valuable data. For example, all the Aadhaar data the government has collected from its citizens and residents are stored by UIDAI. So it is a structured 5-year collaboration agreement between both organizations, as NFSU is involved in providing cyber security measures and improving it. It is believed that Unique Identification Authority of India, Digital Forensic, Cyber Security and Advanced Technology Research, in these fields, both of them will collaborate and help each other. It will also help in strengthening India's digital identity ecosystem, as we have seen that the Aadhaar, all the data that is collected through Aadhaar enrollment, which again is very important, valuable data, as it have almost all the information you can have about individual. So from date of birth to name, from place of residence, so everything is there. And also cyber resiliency. Why cyber resiliency? Because UIDA cannot be caught blind. If you look at the number of cyber incidents in India, it has been rising with exponential rate. Like if you compare year 2015 the number of cyber incidents we reported was only 50,000. But if you look at the recent year, 2025 itself, we have reported a cyber incident of almost 2 million. So from 50,000 to 2 million, such a meteoric rise in last one decade clearly points to a requirement of building or developing cyber resilience in all the sector, most uniquely and specifically in the sector which has valuable data related to citizens and residents of India. Now, what is the objective of this MOU? MOU aims to enhance, first, the cyber security capabilities that is present across the entire UIDAI's digital infrastructure, unique digital infrastructure that they have, support India's growing digital public infrastructure ecosystem, DPI, that is stand for. One of the approaches we have taken also is creating a digital, you can say, embassy as such. So we do not want to only store data in India. In the case if we are facing severe cyber attack, we can also store our data in other countries which is relatively much safer. So the proposal was to set up digital embassy of India in the United Arab Emirates. So such kind of measures we have taken, and this MOU is an example of similar method. Focuses upon securing Aadhaar-based authentication and identity services and promotes innovation and research in the emerging technology. So this is the overall objective. Then when you talk about the key pillars of collaboration, academic development and training, information security enhancement, development of forensic infrastructure, cyber security support and capacity building. These are the four key areas where NFSU is going to provide services to the UIDAI as such. Apart from that, UIDAI will also help NFSU in providing help in creating research so that new technologies can be evolved, so that our system can become more resilient and will be able to handle even the this what you can call is able to handle the growing number of cyber attacks. The student outreach and skill development initiative also has made part of it. So you have to keep these points in mind, 5 points, the key pillars of collaboration as coming out from this MOU. Now let us try to understand briefly about the UIDAI. So UIDAI, as you know, is an example of a statutory body. A statutory body means such organization, authority which has been established under the Act of Parliament. So Aadhaar Act was brought in by government in 2016, and after the Aadhaar Act was brought in, UIDAI got a status of statutory body authority as such. Overall, it functions under which ministry? So it is MeitY, Ministry of Information, Electronics and Information Technology as such, responsible for several functions, the major function being issuance of Aadhaar to the residents of India. This is again very important term to keep in mind. Every person who is resident of India, resident means he or she should be able to has been staying in India at least 4 and more than 180 days in the last year preceding year as such. So if anyone continues to stay in India for more than 180 days, he or she becomes eligible to get Aadhaar. That's why Aadhaar is not a proof of citizenship. It is simply a proof of identification and residency status in India. It is a 12-digit biometric identification number and provides secure digital identity and authentication services. That means you would have experienced many times nowadays, if you want to verify your credentials, identities, whether it is for banking needs, financial need or any kind of need, you can use your Aadhaar number to fetch the data, and then you can do all of these things electronically, digitally as such. So in earlier time, you have to go physically, you have to present yourself, you have to put your photographs, do signing and all that. So the entire system of verification itself has been made online, and to a large extent it has been made possible because of the UIDAI and Aadhaar based system. Now coming to NFSU, National Forensic Sciences Institutions, Universities. It is a specialized institution in forensic sciences, cyber security and criminal investigation. Supports national capacity building in digital forensic and cyber investigation. Digital forensic means if someone has committed crime in the cyberspace, he or she also leave footprint everywhere. So like how a physical crime is committed, clues are left at the crime scene. Similarly, when the financial crime is committed, the clues are left in the digital escape or digital landscape. So finding those clues in digital landscape, digital ecosystem is where the NFSU has excelled in. Conducts research in emerging security technologies. That's why it keeps on collaborating with the organizations from different countries as well, and plays a key role in strengthening India's cyber security ecosystem. So that's where NFSU brings a cutting edge technology and knowledge as such. And that's why when you talk about the collaboration between an organization which holds the largest volume of data, personal data of citizens and residents of India, and NFSU which excels in cyber security, significance of collaboration can easily be seen. Enhances security of entire India's digital identity infrastructure, strengthens cyber resilience against emerging threat. It will help in preventing the data falling into the wrong hand, which can be used against India's interest. Encourages research and innovation in the field of cyber security. Plus, because it is university, it is able to build skilled manpower in digital forensic and cyber investigation, which is going to be a demanding field, a growing field in the coming future as we enter into the era of artificial intelligence, cyber physical systems, and convergence between the cyber and digital and physical space. Overall, we can say in the end that the entire MOU could actually support safe and secure digital governance in India, where people will not have to worry about their data being stolen or being falling in the wrong hands as such. Now, if you look at few questions with reference to the El Nino Southern Oscillation, consider the following statement. El Nino is associated with unusually warm surface water in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. Yes, we have seen it as a correct statement. La Nina generally strengthens the southwest monsoon in India. It is also correct. El Nino causes weak monsoon. La Nina causes generally a strong monsoon. Enzo occurs regularly every year. No, we have seen it occurs over an interval of 2 to 7 years as such. So, correct option would be A, 1 and 2 only. Then second one, with reference to Kimberley process, consider the following statements. Kimberley process was established to prevent conflict diamonds from entering the legitimate global market. The answer is yes. That's why KP was established by South American countries. Kimberley process is a legally binding international treaty. No, we have discussed. It is an informal agreement. So treaties are the provision of treaty is enforced by the national law, but it is not binding on any country as such under the international law of UN. India is one of the founding members of Kimberley Process Certification Scheme. The answer is yes, because India make a stellar contribution as far as diamond processing, cutting, polishing is concerned. So, correct answer is B, 1 and 3 only. The third question is with reference to Delhi Ridge. Delhi Ridge, consider the following statement. Delhi Ridge is the northernmost extension of the Ravli Range. The answer is yes. Ravli starts from Palanpur in Gujarat, then passes through Rajasthan and then goes to Delhi and further Haryana. Central Ridge has recently been declared as Reserve Forest in the Wildlife Protection Act. No, it has been declared as a Reserve Forest, that is correct. But the declaration of Reserve Forest happens under IFA, Indian Forest Act 1927, not under Wildlife Protection Act. Third, Vilayati Kikar, which also we have discussed, is called as Prosopis julifera. It is an invasive species that threatens the native ecosystem of the Delhi Ridge. This is correct. They are actually consuming a huge volume of water and are overcrowding. Thus, native species are kind of losing their ground. So, the correct answer is 1 and 3. Again, C. That is right option. Last, with reference to the recent collaboration between the UIDAI and FSU, consider the following statement. UIDAI is a statutory authority established under the Aadhaar Act 2016. The answer is correct. Aadhaar is 16-digit biometric identification number issued by UIDAI. And third, UIDAI and FSU collaboration focuses upon cyber security, digital forensic, and emerging technology research. Now, 1 is correct, 3 is correct. Aadhaar is not a 16-digit biometric identification number. Rather, it is how many digit? The answer is 12 digit. So that's why the correct answer is C, 1 and 3 only. So that's all for this particular video. Thank you.